Okay, let's get started. So I'll try not to yell too loud. Uh, hello? Hello? Screen's not sharing. All right, awesome. So first hiccup. All right, so, and show my screen. All right, am I showing? All right, so let's get this going. So how was everybody's weekend? Woo! All right, so let's actually be a little bit more focused on what I'm asking. How was everybody's first submission? Oh, woo! All right, so this is usually where people start realizing that this class is not really messing around. All right, so hopefully now, like, you kind of have an idea of how you're going to need to schedule your time, plan ahead. That way, you can make sure that one, you're getting your stuff done on time, and two, that you're getting the help that you need. Because, like I said, help gets a little bit more thinner when you get into the weekend. So definitely want to make sure that you're hitting up the different ways of getting help. One is obviously me and Brian. We have our open office hours. You definitely want to make sure that you schedule that with us because we like to have an advance notice about that. So if you ever are curious about our office hours, those are on our account. You just click on that and we have our times listed. Next is also for campus people. Obviously you have labs online. We have on Hangouts scheduled as well too, so make sure that you're checking those out. Definitely make sure that you also are joining the Discord. All right. With that said, I like to give props to students when they help out each other. So Caitlin, you did awesome this week, so I want to give you extra couple points on your week one. So thank you. Woo! All right. So with that said, let's see. What do I need to go over? One, please make sure that you're reading the assignments requirements because a lot of people did 2 props last week when you only had to do 1. I know that there's a video we need to update that mentions the second prop, but we've also been thoroughly saying, hey, you only have to do the coil and lecture and then also on the page. So if you did a second prop last week, you can still keep on working on that and turn that in for your week 2. All right. So I don't want your work to go wasted. So definitely you can still use that. This week, let's kind of go through what you're going to be doing this week. So obviously, how many people will finish their coil? All right. How many people are close to finishing it? All right. So this is what it is. So each week you're just adding a little extra layer onto your coil. So this week we will be doing UVing and we'll start going over UVing on Wednesday. But also you need to pick a second prop. This is the first week that you're going to start doing the second prop. All right. So you don't either pick a level 1 or a level 2 and model it and UV it as well too. So pretty much each week you're starting a new prop and catching that all the way up to the level of your coil. All right. So does anybody have any questions about that? All right. How about online? All right. So, which brings us into what we are doing today. So what I like to do is the first lecture of the week, I like to sit down and review what we did last week. So what we're going to do, this could be either a very short lecture or a very long one, which is we're going to pick a prop. We're going to go through the whole entire process of like, setting up the project, setting up the references, and modeling it all the way through. For the most part, I'm going to guide you, but I want everybody else kind of walk me through how they would model it. Now, obviously, a lot of you probably are still getting used to the whole concept of Maya. All right. So instead of being technical, you can just say, hey, we need to cut edge there. We need to like make that bigger. I want everybody to kind of be vocal about how we approach this. So with that said, let's pick a prop. All right. So we're going to start all the way from scratch. We're going to close Maya. And we're going to figure out what we want to do. So this week you can either do a level 1 or a level 2. So let's go right here. Do the Nerf gun. Nope, that's a level 3. And now we're going to go to work, class files, 3DF, and we're going to pick out what we want to do. So like I said, level 1 or level 2. So we have a couple choices here. I want to do something with a little bit of meat on the bone, so we're gonna stay away from the apple jug and the beer bottle. Now, I do want to answer some of the questions that we are getting, mostly because, you know, sometimes we can get so focused on everything being so technical that it can give us, like, you know, blind spots, which is a lot of people will ask me, where's the side image for the apple jug? Can anybody answer where's the side image for our apple jug? Yes, it's symmetrical. It's a round object. So it's all one thing, all right? So keep in mind that right there, just because of what type of prop it is, we may not have a top, side, front, all that right there. It may just be that one image. And to let you know, going forward into like a degree program, especially going to model creation, they don't really give you that conclusive reference. You don't get like a front side or anything like that. They'll just give you one image and then tell you to go find the reference yourself, which is what you should start getting used to. So if you need more reference like that, you are more than welcome to go to like Google, image search, find more stuff for you. Especially when you start getting to the level 3 stuff, which is like, you know, the Lego man and things like that. All right, so somebody already said scissors. Does anybody else have any preferences? Let's stay away from the beer bottle and the apple juice and the aluminum can. I pretty much showed y'all how to like model most of the aluminum can. What? So we can do that. All right. Let's kind of look at this real quick. So we had one person say the oil cooler. We had one person say the scissors. All right. How many people say oil cooler? All right. How many people want to do scissors? All right. Hey, y'all are modeling it. I'm not. Scissors. All right. So, oh, and I'm yelling again. So let me quiet it down. All right. So let's go right here. And what should we do first? Set project. So we're in a new week, so we want to make sure that we're kind of following along with the same level of organization. So I'm gonna go to my class files. I have my 3DF right here, and I have my week 1. What I like to do is create a week 2 folder. And again, making sure that I don't put any spaces. And what I'll do is actually I will copy my coil from last week into this new week 2 folder. Just another level of like organization. So I can have it broken down by the different milestones. So primary, block out, things like that. And then also I have it broken down by different weeks. Just makes it a lot easier to kind of keep track of. So we go right here. Since we're going to be working on our coil later on this week. All right, so now we got our week 2 folder. Now we need to create a project. So let's go ahead and open the Maya. Lean back and relax while that loads. All right, so somebody walk me through, how do I create my project? Gotta wait for it to load up. All right, so file, set project, or project window. Yes, so we have to create the file. So we hit new, and then we'll navigate to where we want to save it. So that week 2, hit select, and then we'll just name this scissors. I think that's, no, that is not how you spell it. All right. Like I said, Google has destroyed my ability to spell. All right. Oh, that was right. Snippers. All right. So with that there, we'll hit accept. All right, so let's walk through how to set a project. How many people had the issue where they load up their scene and there was no images, just like squares with X's on them? Anybody? Some? All right, so we had some people online that had that same issue. It's because you're not setting your projects. You gotta make sure that you set your projects, or Maya won't be able to see the fact that you have those reference images in there, and it won't connect that back up for you. So let's go through how to set. So file, we can go right here to set project. Likewise, we can also go to file, open scene, and we have a set project right here. So we can hit that, and where do we need to go to set our project? Yes, we have to go into it. So we need to go into the same directory as the workspace mail. This is what we're looking for. We don't want to select anything. We just want to be in the same room as it. So we hit set. And now our project is set. All right, from there, what do we need to do? Bring in our reference pictures. Where are they at? Yes. So let's go ahead, get that working right here. All right. So navigate to where everything is. Work, class files, 3DF, 2, our scissors. All right, and then do the same thing here. Class files, 3DF. All right. So where do I put my reference images? Into source images, yes. So we go right here, scissors, and we'll just grab those. All right, now that we're good, close that. All right, so where do I need to start putting my reference images? What? Into the scene? So do I just, okay, exactly. So how do I get to the orthographic view? Spacebar. All right, so let's go right here. I'm gonna hit view and go to where? Image plane. Import image, and then we'll just get one that's the top view. So I would probably pick this as the top view. All right, and then guessing this is a side, so we can go right here, the view, do the same thing, image plane, import image, and get our side. All right, we good to go? We can do that. It's just as long as we make that commitment to like it being the top or the front, we just make sure that we stay consistent. All right. So, yep, we need to change the orientation. All right. Saw that Cecilia said that she was lost. Where you at? I got the scissor in my week 2 area, but okay. I couldn't read that in time. All right, so, yep, we need to orient this the right way, which is not that way. And then push that off, push that down. All right. So we got that in there. What should we do to probably make sure that everything's lining up? What? Yep. We pick a lead image, and then, yeah, we need to get something in there so we can get an idea of how big it is. So what I'll usually do is kind of grab a cube and just make it to where it's the same height and size. So right there, right there. Looks like we're actually matching up pretty well over here. Hit 4, yep, that's looking good. All right. What do we do now? make sure that it's like lined up on the, yeah, we can do that as well too, right here. So what I'm doing is I'm training this almost as it's laying down on the ground. So we don't really have to match it up to where it's sitting on the surface, but we can make sure that it's kind of lining up because we do have areas of symmetry. All right, so we can kind of decrease our work if we model smartly. All right, so go right here, kind of match that up. And make sure that's all lining up. All right. Now this right here probably needs to sit right there. Yeah, that should be good. All right, so that looks like it should be lining up. What should we do now? What's up? Measure, exactly. So that's where we go right here. And not drag that into its own folder. There we go. So we have to go back to where? Where do we see our sizes and parts? Yep, material downloads, and then, yep. All right, so we have our scissors, and that is 5 parts, and we got 15.24. So now that I remember that, hopefully, how do I measure this out? Create, measure tools, and distance tool. All right, where do I measure from? Top right here, and then how do I make sure that's straight? Hold down shift to make sure that's straight. Yes. All right, so we got 12.7. So how do I go about scaling this up? Make sure that they're all in the group. Exactly. So I'm gonna go right here, select everything, and hit what? Hit Control G to group. And we can now scale up the group. Perfect. All right, so I already forgot what the number is, so let's go right here. 15.24. And we just get as close as possible. There we go, that's good enough. All right, so are we good? Now let's take a breather and ask, does everybody understand those steps? Good? All right, how about you online? Anything that like you want me to cover again? All right, so this process right here, I know it doesn't seem that fun, but it needs to happen on all your props. What's up? All right, just if we go right here, you want inside the outliner, hold down shift so you can select them all, and then now you can hit Control G. All right, so make sure that you're going into the outliner and selecting all the objects to group, because there's something called an order of selectability inside Maya. So like if I was go right here and like marquee select the whole entire thing, more than likely it would only select the distance tool and none of the images, because it like tries to figure out like what you want to select. So that was a good question. All right, so again, like I was telling her, you want to make sure that you go into the outliner and hold down shift, select the top and the bottom. That way you can make sure that you grab everything, and then we can hit Control G to group everything. And then, just so that we don't have to do it all at the end, we just make sure that we name it. Reference group. I also like to go ahead and make this a layer as well too, which is actually part of our project. So with that selected, go right here to layers, create layer from selected. And now we can name this reference layer. All right, just a little side note why I'm actually putting like those names at the end, like group and layer. Throughout Maya, nothing can be named the same. I know it sounds weird, but if you have a sphere called ball, you cannot name a shader ball as well too, or Maya will scream at you. So it's usually good to kind of just name what it is at the end of what you're naming it. So like right here, our reference, we have it in a group, so I name it reference group. All right. What should we start first? The handles. Which handle? We got two very different looking handles. Which one do we want to start? The easy one. All right. So let's come up with a battle plan. All right. I want everybody to spend like 5. Oh, save. Save. All right. That is a good save. Pun. All right. So right now, this is going to be my lockout 001. All right. So with this type of stuff, it's good to spend a few minutes just kind of breaking everything down, especially if we go right here to our parts list. We see that we have 5 parts. Well, let's go ahead and kind of pre-plan what that's going to be. So I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that little dot right there, that's 5. All right. So with that said, we do see some areas of symmetry. So pretty much if we get done with this one right here, we can duplicate that over to the other side. We can also make this out of a modified version of that. That kind of thinking is how you should approach all your models. See how you can break it down to like easier steps. All right. And then, like I said, make sure that you put the blinders on. Pick one thing and only focus on one thing at a time. So with that said, how are we going to approach this right here? I hear cylinder. So we, and I think online wants to kind of hear people like brainstorming. So go ahead.
I like to say cylinder because you can erase half of the body through faces as well as, and then you can extrude it outwards and bevel it towards the smoothness of the handle.
Yeah.
We can create the silhouette of the handle first, and then after that we would, like, after we complete one entire blade as well, because then probably that's going to be a plane
Okay.
for the blade, and then after you do that and make it thicker, flip it over, then you can extrude part.
Oh, you're doing the whole thing.
Yeah.
So, all right, those were some great ideas. So right now we got like cylinder, but one of the key things I heard people saying is starting off flat. Why do we want to start off flat? Yes, we can extrude later. Why deal with like vertexes on the front and at the bottom when we can just focus on the shape of it flat and just extrude later? So, I heard cylinder. We can do either a cylinder or we can also try a pipe. So don't be afraid to also try out different ones down here as well too. So the difference between a cylinder and a pipe is because it has that little hole right there. So with that said, we're gonna do what he was saying, which was start with the cylinder and make it flat. And now what? How did I make it flat so fast? All right, so let me slow that down. So what I did was I went right here to face mode and selected all the faces at the bottom. So only the top is deselected, and then I hit delete. You get in your own ways and your own habits. There's like probably faster ways to do some stuff. But hey, you know what? Let's give it a try. Let's go right here to disk. That's why I don't like using a disk. That's some funky geometry.
So what's the benefits of, because in Tim, what he does, he goes ahead and deletes every other edge within the thing to create a quad.
Yeah.
So it just, it's like an edge is like.
So, there's a couple things with that right there. One is she asked what's the difference between like, you know, what Tim does, which he goes in, does a disk and makes everything quad, or doing the cylinder and make everything quad. It's hammering into your head the idea of keeping everything quads. So we can't just be hypocrites and say, all right, make sure that everything's quads, but forget about cylinders and spheres who have like triangles. Thing is that me and Tim are different. He does his at the very beginning. I do mine at the very end. And the reason for that is, let me kind of show you. And that's a great question, because like that is one thing that we do differ on. Let me go right here. I'll create a duplicate. So if I go right here and go and quad it up, which is the delete every other edge. And I'm not going to do the whole thing right there. When you do that, you lose the ability to very quickly select the whole entire edge ring going around, because that messes up topology. So it doesn't view that as like a edge loop around the whole entire thing. Meanwhile, if we leave those there until the end, I can still be able to select that really, really quick. Now, there's a way to kind of do both at the same time. Instead of just deleting the edges and quadding up, what we can do is just minimize that area. So I'll just go right here and kind of extrude that in and to like an area where I know I'm not going to need to like, you know, affect it or model it too much. And then I'll get rid of those every other edge. So that way I get the best of both worlds. So now I can still go right here and select that and still be able to do bevels and quickly get around and do things. All right, so yeah, that's a good question. All right, so let's get back to the modeling. I'm having problems with quadding. All right, so we're gonna go right here and I'll delete that. And then, yeah, I should. So we're gonna start with the cylinder. We're gonna start flat. And then, what should I do now? Put it in the middle of the handle and start pretty much moving it around. So we'll just go right here, squish that up. So for this right here, we'll just start moving these into place. So this is going to be the core part of modeling, where you actually go in there and start moving verts when you need to. All right. So reason why I'm going to do that right there is now we need that hole. How would I go about making that hole? What?
You could select the edges, extrude out to match the same size as the reference image, and then delete the center.
Yes. So he was pretty good right there. He said, take the edges and extrude them out to where they are the same profile as this right here, and then we can just delete the center. So shift right click, go to extrude, and then I'll just scale this out. Now I can delete that. Now it's a little bit off, so we can go right here and start tweaking this out. right here. Yes, I'm in vertex mode. When we're moving one thing at a time, we're doing it in vertex mode. Remember, vertex mode is the most smallest selection that you can do. So go right here, keep on tweaking this out. I need to go in the wireframe. How do I get in wireframe? 4 on the keyboard. 4 to the floor. All right. So that's looking good right there. How do I approach this part right here? So how would we go about doing that right there? Do you have your symmetry on, Cassidy? That's a good thing to kind of point out. Sometimes I can get locked on. So if you go right here, what looks like a cube with a hammer on it, this is our modeling toolkit. This gives us a quick bunch of tools that we can use. The reason why I'm bringing this up is occasionally symmetry gets locked on right here. So we just want to make sure that that's off. So if you're selecting something and you're seeing like a vertex over on the other side, like being wiggled around, you're more likely to have symmetry turned on. That's how you would turn it off. All right, so how would we go about this part right here? Let's hear some new voices. Yeah. I'm just more of like, heard that like somebody go like, oh shit. Online, how would I approach that? If we go back and kind of like rethink about how we did our aluminum can thing, we can kind of plan out where our edge flow is going. Keep extruding, all right? So what do I extrude? Those 4 edges? So I would probably, yeah, take these 3 right here. Yep. And then, now, I just saw somebody hop up with like the idea of a vertex. You do not want to extrude vertex. That can make for some really messy stuff. Like, that will turn your stuff into a porcupine. Porcupine, duh, I don't know. All right, so save as. I'm gonna go ahead and save again. All right, so when I extrude, one of the things that I want to do is just do it fast and dirty. We're just going to bring this down. We're not going to try to get every tiny change in shape. The reason for that is because we only want to put in geometry when we need it. And when people try to like do every little minute change, they end up with a lot worse product. Like they just going right here, you don't want to make that tweak and then immediately extrude again. Because at the end, you'll end up with like this little jagged line right here. So it's better to go and just yank it all the way down to the bottom. And then when we need to make those silhouette changes, then we can add some more geometry. So I'll go right here. I'm gonna tweak this out. Well, yep, you're a wizard, Harry. Well, that's a good segue because I need to actually change my batteries. So, what?
That's just funny, the timing of that.
Yeah. All right. All right, can you hear me? Are we good? I know y'all can hear me. Hello? All right. All right. So now this is where we start getting into like, tweaking this out right here. So we can already see that we need to make a profile change right here. So we need to add a what? What needs to go there? Edge loop. All right. So we go right here, edit mesh, insert edge loop tool, and then we just add it where we need it. So that's looking pretty good. Probably want to tweak a little bit more on this right here. So we go in the verts, and again, we'll just grab these down to where they need to be. The what? Did by chance that you hit the B key? Remember, the B key will turn your mesh into a rainbow that is called soft selection. That will allow us to move a whole bunch of things at once, but sometimes we don't want it on, so we want to make sure that we hit the B key to turn that back off. All right, so we're looking good so far. So what should we do now? Yeah, extrude. So we're looking good so far. So we'll double check it and see if we need to move this down. And then, yep, just go right here. How do I, getting ahead of myself, how do I add thickness? How do I add thickness? Let's hear a new voice. Somewhere over here. What? Extrude it. How do I extrude it? I can't just, yes. So we go right here in the face mode, select all our faces, and then I'm going to hold down shift right click and hit extrude. We're just going to hold that down. Now, and we'll just kind of match this up to be the same size. All right, so it's black. What does that mean? The normals are facing the wrong way. So how do I fix that? Go to mesh display and then reverse. All right. So let's see, what else can we do? All right. Now, here's a logic thing right here. So, do we want to go ahead and start beveling it? No. Why? Yes. So, we always want to say beveling to the last stage. That is our polish. That's us putting like, the final coats on. The thing is that we can use a modified version of this to build the other one. So, instead of like going through and like finishing this, let's go ahead and get that swapped over so we can start extruding out that little finger holder thingy. What's up? All right, so you may have problem with geometry. We may have to look at that after lecture. So with that said, I'm gonna go right here. And how would I duplicate that and flip over? What? Control D to duplicate. So we duplicate, but how do I flip it? Yep, we can do rotate. So if we go right here to our channel box and just kind of go right here and flip that over, that's one way. Another way that we can do that is if we go right here and freeze our transforms, we can go to our scale and figure out which way we need to flip it. So we need to flip it in the opposite side of scale X. So what number would I need to put in there for it to flip. -1, exactly. So that's a quicker way too. So -1, bam. All right, and now we can just kind of move this over and tweak this out. Now, for this right here, I'm probably going to get rid of the thickness again. So to show you what I just did was I selected this face and I held down Shift and I double clicked the face next to it. That will select everything in that ring. And then I can hit delete. And I'll do the same thing here. Select this one, hold down Shift, get rid of that. And then I can quickly just double click this bottom one and get rid of that. Or I could do it even faster by just going right here, selecting right here, make sure that only the top is deselected and hit delete. All right, and then from here, we just go ahead and start tweaking. So we don't have dead silence. How's everybody? Any questions so far? It should, for campus, they should be in hopefully by Wednesday. Same way with online, we'll probably have it done by the end of Wednesday. So for the time being, usually what we usually suggest, start working on your second prop. That way, when Wednesday you get your grades, you'll see the feedback on your coil and have a chance to fix that. Right. Yes, because Wednesday is when I'll start going over that. It depends. So here's the thing, and what she's asking is how long it's going to take. Well, obviously the first question was when your grades are going to be posted. Again, hopefully Wednesday. Second thing she asked was how long should UV mapping take? The hardest thing about UV mapping is just getting the concept, the idea of like you're doing the reverse. You're taking a 3D object and you're laying it flat. Once you get that, it's actually pretty quick. You can actually UV map something starting out about 4 to 6 hours for your coil. All right. Now, like I said, the hardest part is getting the concept. All right. The biggest part that's going to be the hardest part for y'all is going to be making sure that your geometry is free of problem geometry. Because if you have any issues with your geometry, it will make UVing your stuff really, really hard. So I would say at this point, if you haven't yet, make sure that you are scheduling some time in Hangouts so we can talk about getting your stuff clean and getting that ready for when you start UVing. All right, so a couple things that we did here. One, we shored up that shape. Shored up that shape. Man, I can't talk today. All right, so, but also we made sure that that edge flow right there starts giving us an area where we can start making that little thing coming out of it. I don't know what it's called. I didn't go to school for that. So how would I approach that? Yep, extrude the face. So we go right here. I'm gonna take that edge. I'm gonna hold down Shift and just kind of bring that out. And like I said, I'm gonna just go all the way to the end, right there. And the reason for that is because it's easier to get a curve if we just kind of do it piece by piece, and then instead of trying to do like one tiny vert for each change in that hump. So go right here. What I usually like to do is I'll put one directly in the middle and move that. Yes, I used the multicut tool. So slow that down. I went right here with my object selected. I held down shift right click. Why is shift right click? Yeah, it brings up our context menu. So this is nothing but options that I can use on whatever I have selected. So right here, if I go into edge mode, if I go and hold down shift right click, we'll see the multicut tool. And what's the hotkey to be able to draw an edge loop like this? Control. All right. Yep, it's either or. It depends on what you prefer. The multicut allows me to do like multiple tools at once without having to switch. So usually I gravitate more towards that. But insert edge loop tool has like options that I can, like, let's say if I need for some reason like 20 different edges on there, I can quickly do that with the insert edge loop tool through the options. Also, it has options where it will try to pay attention to your curvature. So instead of me having to constantly like, change it, it will try to predict where I want it to be. And most of the time it's pretty decent at its job. Sometimes it just gets it completely wrong, but so with that right there, I got my middle one. So what I do is I just keep on kind of splitting the difference. So again, multicut tool. And that should be good enough right there. I'm just going to put one right here because it does curve in. All right. Anything else? No, we're looking good. All right. So I'm going to select this right here and extrude for thickness. Go shift right click, extrude. And there we go. So, and to fix that blackness, we just go right here with it selected, go to mesh tools, mesh display, and reverse. All right. So what should I do now? Save. What should I probably do before saving? What? Delete my history. Why do I want to delete my history? Yes, exactly. So to let you know why that can be an issue, if we go right here and look at this right here, that's all our history. That's all the stuff that we've been doing on here. And that's the thing. I can click on any one of these and actually change those values, and it will kind of shoot that change all the way through. So you can see how very quickly that can get corrupted. So yes, we want to make sure that we are deleting our history, especially once we kind of get like to a good point with our object. So we go right here. We can click this button, or we can go right here to edit, delete by type, history, and we'll just go right here to file, save as, and block out. All right. So it looks like our verts are not lining up to the other one right here, so we're just going to move that back down, match up, and that's looking good. All right, so I think that's probably the hardest part of that right there. So how would I go about blocking out my next shape? What should I do next? There's not many options left, so you can just pick one. All right, we can freeze transforms. We can center pivot as well too. It doesn't hurt to like hit all three of these right here. Again, these are our cardinal buttons right here: our center pivot, our freeze transforms, and our delete history. It doesn't hurt to do all three at any time, but the thing is that we want to at least make sure that we do the delete history. All right, so online, brainstorm, how are we gonna do this blade? Do a cube? So a cube? All right, get a lot of cubes. All right, so we got the cube. What do we do with it? We can do this online. I'm waiting for one of them to just say save. We gotta stretch it. All right, so online, let's think back about how we did the handles. So we got a cube. Should we do something to that cube? Or should we just try to build it like with that thickness? Yes. Make them flat. All right, so we'll go right here. Wait, yes, we could have just made it plain. But we also can make a cube. Like plane by default comes in with 20 divisions on each side. This one right here came in with like, no division. So I can quickly get it to that 1 by 1 plane. So again, mine is a sandbox. There's 100 different ways to get the same thing. So, all right. So we're gonna go right here. And this is not selecting. There we go. All right. So I'll have to shore that up a little bit later. But let's go right here. Go right there. Translate the verts. All right. So online, what should I do now? Extrude edge. Just save. All right. So one person said cut tool, another person said extrude. We can do either or. So again, remember, we are blocking this out. So we're not trying to model too much detail. If we model too much detail, we may paint ourselves into a corner. So let's first just get the basic shape. So we got that right there. And like somebody said online, we just want to go right here, probably add a new cut. I didn't get that question. Oh yeah, the bolt is a separate part. So we're gonna just keep that as a separate entity. All right, so then we're just gonna probably bring this down right here. So that kind of covers up where that blade goes. All right, that's looking good. All right, so trying to see if there's anything else that we should do. Are we good with that? Should we be checking in all our views to make sure that we're good with that? All right, so again, we gotta make sure that we're going back and double checking everything. So this is looking fine. So I can probably just extrude this down. But before I do that, if that's a major change, I definitely want to make sure that I save. All right, so now we can go right here, select that, and extrude for thickness. And there we go. Let's go and reverse that. All right, So, what's next? What? Control D. And then, what can I do? Scale. Yep. We can just type in -1 and flip that over. And this one needs to be lower. All right, it's looking good. All right, we gotta make sure that it doesn't clip through. And then we just need to connect it up right here. So how many people are doing the scissors this week? What's up? So here's my thoughts about this, and it's actually a really widely shared thought, which is if there, what? Oh yes. So what Jennifer just asked was, do we need to punch a hole for that rivet? All right. So the thing is that if there is no way humanly possible that we can see that hole, don't model it. All right. So nowhere will we be able to see that there was a lack of a hole. So we're just going to pretty much put what looks like a screw head on top, and that's call it a day. So we got that little peg right there. So how would I go about doing that little screw top? What? A sphere? All right. So walk me through how would I do the sphere? Okay. So use cut tool. Yep. So you're on the right path. Yeah, like we just go right here and just delete all of what we don't need. And we pretty much have that surface now. So what I usually like to do is one, I'll kind of scale this down a little bit. So because it's not going to be that much of a dome. And then two, like most screws, we kind of have like a little bit of a straight side right there. And that's about it. That's pretty much done. So we can go right here and just kind of scale that down. Scale it down a lot. All right, so. Place that. All right. Now, here's another thing. One, we could probably make this all one piece and have the same thing at the bottom and have them connected. Two, we could just duplicate that and put that at the bottom as well, but that would make it have 6 pieces. I'm letting you know right now, these numbers right here, they're not carved in stone, all right? There's a little bit of wiggle room on stuff that makes sense. So obviously, you know, the apple juice bottle that has 2 parts right there, that's a lid and the actual jug. I think beer bottles does too, even though like it's only one piece. I think we did like the cap or something like that. So again, there's some wiggle room, especially when we get into areas that is like, you know, the digital camera or no, actually, where's the clock? Yes. So the magnifying glass or the lighter with 11 pieces, things like that. The alarm clock, that's 32 pieces, things like that. We're not going to go through and be like, all right, you got 31 pieces, F. All right, so we give you a little bit of wiggle room right there. All right, as long as it's logically done. You're not breaking a surface that is obviously one piece into multiple pieces. Like, don't make the beer bottle like 19 pieces. So everybody understand that? All right. So I'm going to take this right here. I'm going to duplicate it. And then what do I need to do? flip it. All right. Yeah, we could probably do the rod as well too. So, and now that I'm looking at it, yes, it does look like a little rod. So we're going to go and actually model that out. So how would I make that little rod? I would extrude. Like that, or like inward. All right, so we will extrude inward. Okay, so that's exactly it. So he said extrude in and then extrude down once we get the size of the rod, and then from there, and then. All right, so. All right. So let me change that by going to my scale. Now, I haven't went over this in lecture yet, but does anybody know how to only scale in 2 directions and not all 3? Control, exactly. So if you hold down control and drag on the axis you don't want anything to happen in, you can move it in the other 2. So right now I'm going to just make this wider. And the reason for that is that I want it to get wider, but I don't want it to like scale in the Y and get like, longer. All right, how would I cap this off? What? Fill a hole, all right. So we could definitely do that. So if I go right here and shift right click and we'll see fill hole. Does anybody see an issue with that? Yeah. So it's just a huge ingon, which that's fine. We can go back and fix that later. That's actually perfect. Let me go ahead and leave that there because I also want to have a cleanup stage going through. So. All right. Starting to look good. All right. So that right there, that is our primary form. All right. That's our base shape. Is everybody good with that? All right. I think somebody answered. I just heard mumbling. Is that okay? So, online, how are we doing? All right. So, all right. Well, now let's start working on the rest of this right here. So, now we're on to our secondary form. SF001. Since I'm going secondary form, I consider that a new milestone, so I give it a new name. So that way I can kind of keep track. So save as, hit continue. All right, so what should I do first? Bevel, all right, bevel what? So somebody said press 3 to look at what needs to be beveled. So that's definitely from Tim's video, which is, if we look at right here, what she means is when we hit 3, what it's doing is that smooth approximation. It's a good indicator of what needs to be beveled because right now we're seeing how this is turning into what looks like a really badly shaped balloon, all right? We need to make sure that our edges have definition. That's where we use bevel. So any area that has like this little balloon effect, that's an area that needs beveling. Now, keep in mind, please do not model in this, all right? Because one mode, when we hit one on our model, that's our actual object. That's how it really looks. When we hit 3, it's giving us an approximation of what it looks like with 2 smooths done on it. So it's kind of, the best way I can say is it's like beer goggles for your model, all right? You don't want to model with it that way. So instead, make sure that you stay in Res 1. But that is a good tip to bring up, which is use the 3 key to see what needs to be built and define more, and then immediately go back to 1. All right, so obviously we kind of already saw that all this needs to be selected. And then probably this one right here. That one right there. Oop. All right, so pretty much what I did was I selected all the edges that go around the outside, and then also these ones at the end as well too. And now I should be able to go and hit Shift, right click, and bevel. All right, how much should I bevel it? 2 segments. All right. So that's looking good right there. Now, if this is a really wide bevel like that, we may want to go up a little bit more with our segments. So 3. But yeah, that's looking fine. All right, let's do the same thing here. We'll grab the inside and the outside and bevel that as well too. And we're gonna make that fraction pretty wide because that's actually a pretty round bevel. Do we need bevel anything else? Oh, I mean on this one right here. We already did the top ring right here, and then we also did the bottom one right here as well too. What? All right. So one thing that we could do right here is instead of me having to go through and like add a bunch of edges to curve that out, we can also bevel this edge as well. So if we go right here and hit bevel, and then spread out that fraction, that gives us a nice little curve right there that's existing right there. All right. So that's looking good. Yes, so go right here, hit 3, and now it's actually holding our shape properly. Now, is there anything else that we need to do? Or is that done? What? Yep. Is that handle done? Did we get everything done on that? We good with that? All right, so this is where the difference in modelers are there, which is how many people notice that there's a little peg right there? Yep. So it's those little tiny details that will always set your model above other people's. So making sure that you're always paying attention to that small little detail. So how would I go about that peg? All right. Select the face. So let me make sure I got the right one. So I'm gonna go right here. I'm gonna extrude it inward. Are we able to circleize a 4-sided face? Yep. So go right here and let's get our edge loops in the middle. Perfect. Yes, now we should be able to do this. This gives us a 8-sided extrude. And then now we can do the circleize, exactly. So we can go right here, shift right click, and circularize component, and then extrude that out. And then I am going to make that a little bit. That did not turn out right. All right. Yeah, I'm making it thinner. So what I'm going to do is instead just make that a little bit smaller. And now we can go ahead and bring that out. Perfect. All right. Anything else? Online, are we good? All right. Campus is saying it, we need to bevel it. Yes, we need to bevel that small peg too. Anything that has a hard edge, so like if we go right here and hit 3, we can see that that needs to be defined more. So we just need to go select that. And now we can bevel. Go right here, bevel. Perfect. All right, hit 3. And we can see that it's holding its shape. All right, now probably should save. So if we go right here, I'm gonna go ahead and delete my history again. And go to File, Save As. And then we'll just repeat that same process over here. So I'll go ahead and grab all my edges, bevel them. I can freeze transforms if I want. So right here, the main thing is the delete history that you want to be very, sure to do. Does that taper in? No. All right. So now we can go right here. I know, exciting stuff. All right, and then we're going to hit shift right click and bevel. Did I miss something? Yes, I did. All right, so that's where we always want to make sure that we are triple and quadruple checking ourselves, especially when it's extruding and beveling, because those are really hard to clean up. So I'll go back here and bevel. Let's make sure that we got all the edges that we wanted. Perfect. And then bring down the fractions. Try to match that. I feel almost like this should be tapered a little bit. So that would be a quick way for me to taper that. Not extrude in because we don't want to change, like actually add more geometry that changes our shape. We have enough geometry already. We can scale it. So if we go right here and then hit R, but now we have to kind of go bit by bit. Does anybody remember anything from lecture on Friday that we could use that gives us a little bit? Soft select, exactly. So if I hit B on my keyboard and hold down B and middle mouse click and drag, I can affect the fall off. which will allow me to kind of just add like a little nice taper. And then immediately I'll hit B again to get out of that mode. Can we do that again? Yes. So if I select this part right here, I can hit B on my keyboard and you'll see your model turn like, you know, yellow, red, and black. If I hold down B as in boy and middle mouse click and drag, I can affect the fall off. So as you can see, it's starting to like spread out. And now I can start scaling down. And this will give me a nice little taper. And then the last one, I'll go right here and build that. You're more than welcome. All right, so right here, I'm gonna hit bevel, curve that out a little bit more. All right, so I think we are looking good on the handles right there. So with that selected, go ahead and hit my 3 cardinal buttons and save as. Hit 3. All right, so how's everybody feeling about this so far? Everybody ready for the blades? All right, so one thing, and I'm seeing it a little bit like with online, hopefully this is kind of calming you down when it comes to approaching modeling. The thing is that stop thinking of the whole entire thing all at once. It takes more than just a couple clicks to get to here. We have to start small and build up over time. Now, with that said, what detail do we need to model in here? So the blade section, yes. Yep. So that's one thing. So let's kind of look at this right here. So we got the blade right there. We got the thickness. What about this? How would we go about modeling that part right there? All right, so this is the reason why I like doing this one right here, because this gives you a preview into what we're going to be learning for the rest of the month, which is UVing. That's something that physically we would not model. It's something called tertiary detail. That's something that we would use something called like a bump map or a normal map to like do for us. And it's a lot easier because that is literally us just painting on something and then Maya saying, all right, cool, I'll just add like effect to it. All right, so that stuff right there is what we would call tertiary detail. And that's where we start getting into UVing. All right, with that said, how are we going to do this blade? All right, so we're going to create an edge loop. Extrude. Okay, somebody said extrude. What do I extrude? So which part? All right, so move it down. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of like ideas and a lot of them are on the right path. So yes, we could either do extrude. We may also want to use edge loops instead. You were on the right path of like actually just moving the edge down, but we need something else to hold the shape that's already there. So that's when we go into like the idea of whether or not we need to extrude or we need to add an edge loop. Since we already kind of have the shape of this going, then we would probably just go right here and make sure that we had add an edge right here. Probably one right there. That way, this will hold the surface of what we got going on right here. Now from there, we can actually bevel that edge and make that a little bit more defined. So. Actually, I go right here and isolate my selection. And we'll see if this looks right. All right. So we just need to make that a little bit tighter. And then this right here, I'll go ahead and just bevel that as well too. So now we get that little look of a blade. And that was just adding in a few edge loops and then making sure that we go back and define those edge loops with the bevel. Any questions about that? No. Pretty basic, like right there. So the reason why we didn't go with a extrude though is if we go and let's say we could have probably went with the extrude. Let's try that method out. We got two blades. Why not? Doesn't cost me anything. All right. So let's see. I'll select all those right there. And we're going to just extrude. And that does give us a little bit of detail right there. We just got to make sure that we go back and kind of correct it. So this probably needs to go forward. Because it was overlapping. Same with right here. So you can definitely do either way. One just kind of gives you a mess that you have to go back and clean up. So. And then, yeah. And so we can squish this down. So either or would have been fine. I like the other way a little bit better. But like I said, mine's a sandbox. There's 100 different ways to get the same thing. And as far as this part right here, we're not going to worry too much about that because that is just a shading issue. If we go with that object selected, hold down Shift right click in object mode and just tell it to harden edge, it will get rid of that. All right, so with that said, I was going to delete this one anyway because, yeah, we just copied this blade over. All right, Another thing that I want to do, and I even broke my rule, I went ahead and beveled before I got all my form in there, is that we need to kind of smooth out that area because it's a little blocky. So what would be a quick way for me to smooth that out? Insert edge loop. So right here. I would put one right there, and then I can start tweaking this out. That's looking good. All right. All right, so I'm gonna hit Control D. And we just need to flip this in the X. And then also I need to flip it in the Y. Just because that's how the scissors are made. All right, move that back in position. All right, that's looking good. So again, another situation where I would do what? Bevel or made some good progress right here. So what should I do? Save. Yes, let's go ahead and hit this with a freeze transforms, delete history, and center pivot. So go right here, biggity boom, and file save as. And 4. All right, so one last piece right here. So for this, really all it needs is some beveling. So I'll go right here, select the edge, and like we said earlier, we're going to hit 3 to see the blade is wrong.
Yeah, because then it's not, yeah, because then the way that it's done.
Yeah. Two. Oh yeah. Durr. All right. So let me go ahead and flip that. So that should be -1. There we go. Now we're correct. All right. So go ahead. Control 1, see where this is falling apart. So we need a bevel here. Where else? Underneath. Yep. And then this one. So bevel. Oop. Got that one right there. So all right, shift right click. Let's go to bevel. Play around with our fractions. Make sure that we are paying attention to how it looks right here. So that's a little bit of a highlight right there. So that should be good. Now, this is where we run into that issue right there, which this is extreme case, but how many people want to go like bevel something and it doesn't bevel, or it only bevels one edge, things like that. All right, so that's why I like to leave bevel to the polishing off area, because it's a good indicator when you have problem geometry. So this is where we now start stepping through and seeing where we have issues. All right, so let's go right here. I'm gonna hit Control 1, bring everything back, and then now I'm going to go to where do I find out where issues are? Where does that exist? So we can go in wireframe and hit smooth. Well, that'll give us a little our smooth approximation. And sometimes I can highlight when there's issues, but there's actually a tool that we can use that will actually show us where our problem geometry is. Yes. So mesh and cleanup. All right. So let's go right here. Make sure everything is res 1. All right. So Does anybody remember the settings that we're looking for? So faces more than 4 sides, that's our n-gons. So let's click that on. Online, how are we doing? All right, so the main ones that we're looking at is going to be faces with more than 4 sides, faces with holes, lambda faces, and non-manifold geometry. Those are our big 4. Now remember, yes, concave faces and non-planar faces can be an issue, but they have to be extreme, and you will usually see those issues happening. All right, but for most part, those 4 right there, they are your tool breakers. But there's also one key thing that we're forgetting. Anybody remember what we don't want Maya to do? Yes, we don't want it to clean up for us. All right, so we want to make sure that the first one is set to matching. Select only the matching ones. Don't clean up, because when it cleans up, it doesn't care about your edge flow or anything like that. It'll just do whatever makes sense and quick. All right, so with that said, let's go ahead and hit apply. All right, so do have a couple things right here, not much. Wish there was a little bit more problem geometry with it, but all right, so we got some stuff selected. Can anybody tell me what's wrong with it? Well, there's an n-gon, obviously. But the key thing is that we have everything selected, all right? So we need to start narrowing it down, because each one of these issues has a different fix that works best for it. It's best to actually kind of take it almost like an assembly line. Get one thing completely fixed and then move to the next issue. So we go right here, uncheck everything, and we'll hit apply. And now we can see, hey, we got that part right there that needs to be fixed. So how would we fix that? We could cut it. Yes, there is a faster way. So there's 2 ways that we can do that. One is we could just delete that face and then tell this to extrude in, and then immediately go right here to shift right click and just tell those edges to merge to center. All right. The other way is even quicker, and it's only really for these cases right here, which if I go right here and select that face and hold down shift right click, we can poke it. P-O-K-E, poke it. And that will add that in for us. All right. And then from there, we can bevel this edge again, now that we cleaned up that problem geometry. So go right here, bevel that. And then we can go through, now that I'm fine with my geometry, and go through and quad that up. All right. So now that's all looking good. So we're going to hit apply, and now nothing got selected. So now our geometry is free of n-gons. So, and that's how we want to go about that. Let me tie my shoe before I trip. All right, so now we can go on to faces with holes. Now, I will let you know, the reason why we don't go into faces with holes too much is because it's kind of hard for it to happen. So let me try to actually make that happen. So if I go right here and make a cube, we just extrude that in and extrude that in. So literally a face with a hole in it is pretty much a detail in your surface that has no edges supporting it. So like literally if I went in there and deleted all those surrounding edges, now there is a surface inside my object that does not have an edge supporting it. And that is literally a big issue with like Maya, because technically that shouldn't exist. You need edges, you need vertexes to hold your shape. So if there's going to be that detail, it has to be connected up. The only time I've ever seen that really happen with students' models is because they use a certain tool that even I will not say the name of. All right. All right. So, well, if you find it and use it, you'll probably get an instructor that yells at you. All right. So face with the holes, we already did that. Hit apply. All right, that's coming back clean. Now let's do lamina faces. Let's go ahead and hit apply. Nothing. We're good. All right. So non-geometry. Apply to all. All right. Oh no, we got something selected. All right. So we got a couple dots right there. Does anybody remember what we need to do about those? What? Yes, it's nothing because it's green. So green is non-manifold geometry with UVs, all right? And usually that gets fixed automatically when we do our first stage of UV modeling, meaning UVing, which is we would go and reset it. We would pretty much reset all our UVs back to the ground floor. And that will usually fix that issue for us, all right? Now, if they are yellow, then we do have to fix them. So that's coming back clean. So hit apply. So all this is looking fine. Now we can do our last little bit, which is our professionalism, getting it ready for turn-in. So we just need to go through and name everything. So I'll grab all these and center pivot, delete history, freeze transforms. Control G. We're gonna name that scissors group. And then from there, just give everything a name. Bolt. Blade 1. What?
Whenever he renamed everything, he did _GEO.
GEO for the group or Geo? That's his way of naming it. As long as you're staying consistent with your own, I'll just go ahead and just name it what it is. And he's doing the same process that I was saying, which is you can't name anything the same throughout all of Maya. So he's literally going to the ground level and putting Geo at the end because it's geometry. We have our own little ways to get around that. What's up?
One of my friends was like further along. She said that it's like useful if you put like the name of like the item and then that is part of.
Yes. So yeah, like adding scissors handle. Yeah. So that's definitely a good naming convention as well too. I just don't want to type that much. Yeah. And then also remember no spaces. Eva, handle 2. All right, so now we have that all named. We're going to add that to our group. So layer, hit save. So now that's on a layer. We can double check that by hitting V. All right, and then just to be safe, let's go ahead and center pivot, delete history, freeze transforms, hit 1 on our keyboard, hit 4, putting in wireframe, and now we can do our final save. So save as. And last name, underscore, first name. underscore scissors. All right, hit save as. Yes, and then we need to do that as well too. So hide that. And then also we want to get a good angle. We don't want to have to go find your stuff. All right, so file, save as. Yes. So please always kind of look at this right here. This is actually the address of where your file is located. Likewise, if you ever run into the situation where you're like, hey, where's my file? You somehow lost it. You can always check out file recent files, and this will kind of show you the location of your prior items. Now, please don't like start like moving your stuff around. Set one location. That's where you work to. That's where you create your projects to. That's where you set your projects to. That way you can make sure that you don't accidentally lose anything. All right. Any questions about this? All right. So that was us completely modeling that right there. This is not the last time we see the scissors. We will actually be UVing this later on. All right. This week. All right. Outside of that, does anybody have any questions? What's up? Okay. So that's where you would just kind of pick your lead and then kind of get close enough with the other ones. You're not going to get them perfectly lined up, but with that screw, really the side one, that profile is all you need. The other ones are kind of just letting you know how thick it is on the edges. So I wouldn't worry about trying to get that lined up because it was really hard to get to like sit in a weird way that you can actually get like good side references. So I would do most of your modeling off of the side image of the iScroll. Again, what he was asking is that his images were not lining up perfectly. They're not. They were shot by us, and we're humans, and also camera adds distortion, things like that. You just want to get close enough. So that's why you always want to pick a lead image, and that's where you base everything off of. All right. Any other questions? What's up? We can. The thing is that we don't want to. They have like a little bit of a flatness to it right there. We could probably add, since we have the geometry right here, we could probably add that little curvature to it. We could also probably scale this down just so that it comes down to more to the point. The thing is that what we want to prevent is we never want a situation like this right here. We don't want anything to ever come to this very cartoonish point, all right? Because that always looks really bad in CG because nothing looks like that in our real world. Everything has like a little bit of roundness, a little bit of a smoothness to it, all right? When we have these crisp points and these 90-degree edges and these sharp turns, that comes across as very calculated, very computer animation, all right? So we have to add that little bit of polish to it. Any other questions? I saw somebody's hand back there. No? All right, with that said, one, hopefully this helps you like build your second prompt for this week. Two, what I want people to start doing is emailing me your scenes because as you saw right here, I want to get a little bit more into cleaning up, but we didn't run into an issue where we had too much cleanup. So if you want to, you can go ahead and send me your scenes and we can actually approach them inside of lecture. That way everybody gets an idea of like how to approach different cleanup things. Because the only way that you can get really good at like cleaning up your models is just to do it over and over again. All right. Outside of that, that's pretty much lecture. All right. On Wednesday, if you want to get prepared for that, start watching the UV video tutorials, and we will start doing UVing on Wednesday. All right. Feel free to sign in, sign out. Okay.